Hey. Guys, welcome to my channel. This is a story of what if Sasuke regrets his decisions and want to make atonement for his sin. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel, it will surely help me, and also it will notify you on my upcoming videos, and check the description for the creator of this great fanfic. Thank you. Now let's start the story. Chapter 18. Prelude. Otogaker Crush. Prelude. Hokage office team Kyoryu were the first to arrive. Sasuke looked a bit too happy about the bloody mission. Suigetsu was practically beaming, Jugo was smiling, Karen was worried, and Naruto looked like she was guilty about something. Tsunade-sama, I know that the 24 hours are not done yet, but I assembled them. They talked with the Suna siblings, and they will be in. Kakashi replied calmly as Jiraiya went yesterday to modify Gaara's seal. Okay, why are we here, Tsunade-kaken? Naruto greeted the older woman who glared at her. You are grounded for a week, young miss, and there will be a punishment for not telling me that you have a sleepover, but your boyfriend is welcome to visit along his team. Tsunade's serious tone made Naruto look down in shame as Sasuke sighed dejectedly. Here goes his plan. I understand, Hokage-sama. Sasuke replied sadly, I must ask you though, why punishing her? She made me and Shizune worried sick. We literally had to comb the village when she wasn't in her old apartment, nor your own, nor Itano's nor Hinata's. I was worried that someone would have kidnapped her. She replied sadly, all my life I wanted to be a mother, and yet. Naru-chan, don't make me worried like this again, please. Tsunade asked the girl, who nodded as some tears fell from her eyes. Sasuke just shrugged. He didn't even want to care. Then Ibiki arrived after he knocked. Hokage-sama, the Suna siblings are here. The bear of a man said from the outside as he waited for her reply. The blonde Senju looked silently before she replied. Send them in. Her order was executed immediately. As the three siblings entered, Kakashi waved lazily at them. Sasuke gave them an apologetic look, and Naruto beamed only for Sasuke to hold her hand with his own. Suigetsu and Jugo smiled as they locked eyes with the two boys, while Karen smiled at Temari. She looks like a true kunoichi. Finally, about time we meet. You know, Kakashi here praised your skills, but it won't be enough to get in Kyoryu yet. Tsunade's tone was formal enough. These guys here might very well need you, and for that, we have an exchange. You three are now officially Konoha ninjas. Welcome to the village. Why would you want us to join, Hokage-sama? Temari agreed to talk, as she was definitely the most political savvy. The Senju looked at Kakashi, who beamed at them. Really, Kakashi-san? Exactly. I decided that since you three are too cooperative, maybe you should live in somewhere else. He replied as Sasuke sighed. Great. It was his turn to explain. You see, your plan was bloodthirsty, merciless, and honestly, I find the entire trying to massacre civilians, children, pregnant women the most disgusting act. I would understand if it was against a bunch of politicians, since they are the literal worst. But none of your targets are among the checklist of the people who deserves to die. In short, Konohagakure had chosen to make a treaty, not that I do mind it one bit. So, the terms are probably classified information, that Hokage-sama might or might not explain to you. But here's your first mission, annihilate Otogaker for playing your old village. Sasuke explained before he covered his face and grinned devilishly. I'm telling you this for the one and only time. You have two choices. Either join, or die. Naruto decided not intervene. Sasuke, however, was worried. If Naruto would know about his still hidden plan, she would definitely rip his guts out. Then again, dying is not an option. He will have his revenge. No. Their revenge if she will be willing to, well, understand his entire plan. This is an offer we can't refuse. Gaara replied as Sasuke glanced at him and smirked. He made the right choice. Either death or following. Look, I do have a plan, all right. And Tsunade-hime, this is something very interesting for you, if you would help me out. Maybe, you want to hear my terms. Sasuke added as Suigetsu smirked. So it came, huh? I know that you want to take over the world, but not this fast. Suigetsu thought before he had an evil grin. Sasu-chan. Naruto asked herself about what would her Sasuke want now. You're one crazy brother who I don't know if I should follow out of loyalty, or flee out of self-preservation. Karen thought. What now? Jugo thought worriedly. Judging by the book, it must be a journal or something. Kakashi thought, Sasuke is planning something big, but I wonder. No. No way in hell. He would rectify that. Kakashi thought. His student was now really something to be careful about. Eehhhhh. Tsunade thought as she read the title. Uchiha Madara's journal. The Senju flipped through the pages and she then handed it back to Sasuke, as she was now completely pale and her thoughts were in a daze. Now what should they do? Sasuke then surprised her for the next time as he gave her an SS-ranked mission to do one thing, capture the Bijus back. That was terrifying thoughts. Oi, do you want to spark an international incident or what? She asked the Uchiha who smirked at her evilly. We started that shit, and we should be the end of it. That's part 1. Part 2. It requires my team to train harder than ever. Also, I have a plan, to finish this once and for all. A plan to use on emergency only. He announced as Naruko's eyes widened, what her boyfriend was planning. Before she could ask the raven-haired teen, he whispered in her ear that he will explain to her once she can use senjutsu on the fly. She poked him in the ribs, and surprisingly, he didn't even flinch. Okay. I think that you are dismissed. Now then, I have an entire organization to check on. What are you waiting for? I want you to be ready for the assault mission. I want you to be more than ready. Kakashi, you stay. Team Kyoryu, you escort them to a cafe, restaurant. Whatever. I want you to be tighter than 2 cellmates on lockdown. As they all nodded, Sasuke went outside, completely frustrated. Naruto noticed his eyes were practically throwing hatred at anything and everything that's not their team. Sasu-kun. Maybe we should talk, you know. Naruto asked the Uchiha who sighed. Naru-chan, where do your loyalty lays? Kyoryu, or Konoha? He asked her in a very hushed whisper and she sighed as she didn't understand. If we flee from this village, would you follow? I don't know. What about Hina-chan, Ero-sennin? Kaka-sensei? Naruto asked her teammate who sighed. Damn her kindness. Okay, let me tell you about the others. Only Shino is a decent one. Ino Shikacho are brats, Kiba is a brat and Sakura is definitely a brat. Sasuke replied sadly. Neji's arrogance will definitely be his death. Sasu-kun. You need a shrink. Naruto replied as Suigetsu laughed madly. Yeah well, I guess. Suigetsu replied. You really seems like a bit on the crazy side. Suigetsu smirked. Coming from the psychopath. Jugo asked as the Hozoki glared. Bipolar ladder. He replied. Soggy ass. Karen intervened. Tomato. Suigetsu replied. Shark fin soup. Karen replied. Bitch. He replied. Bastard. She replied. Jugo sighed as Naruto and Sasuke both laughed and chuckled. Oi, something funny. I dunno. Being there done that. Suigetsu asked the Uchiha and future Uchiha who both nodded. Hey, guess you two are related. Suigetsu, she's a Tsunere. You have to break that hard shell to reach the soft spot. Jugo replied as Suigetsu twitched. Whatever you say, tall animal lover nature obsessed amazing friend. She replied as Naruto sighed. As the team escorted the Suna siblings, they noticed the literal thundercloud and gloomy look on Sasuke's semi-depressed face. They all thought that the Uchiha was depressed, and yet, they were all wrong. Sasuke was afraid. Afraid of going back to hell again. Afraid of losing the one light he had. Itachi had made his decision. It was cold-blooded, but he understood his brother's reasons. As much as he hated to say it, he will honor his brother's sacrifice. As much as he wanted Itachi to be back, he realized something. Itachi will only return in a box, or scroll, or body bag. Now it was all depending on Naruto. He then vowed that whoever harms her, and whoever stand by his or her side, will beg him for death. Sasuke's glimpse of madness was cut short when Naruto hugged him from behind. Oi, is that Uchiha always so soft towards the Uzumaki? Temari asked Jugo who nodded. What are they? In a relationship. A very serious one that even I don't want to cut, no matter how much I would enjoy it. It just feels so wrong you know. Suigetsu replied as he sighed. Sasuke was becoming less controllable by every second away from Naruto. So, what it is to be a Jinchuriki? Karen asked Gaara in a very hushed tone that screamed interest. Better senses, and for me permanent insomnia until a few weeks ago. He replied. Although, he was a good company. He warned me from the Uchiha and the blonde Uzumaki. Oh really? What am I, huh? Naruko seethed as she released Sasuke, who now had a deep scowl on his face. Someone irreparable? Karen asked back as Suigetsu and Jugo nodded. An annoying chatterbox. Kankuro replied jovially as Tamari smacked him gently with her war fan. Someone very strong if you managed to make him warn me about you. Gaara replied as the girl blushed before Sasuke finally decided for once to show her some affection and hugged her tightly. My most precious person that I would. You know. Sasuke replied before he remembered something. The Uchiha then stopped talking. Naruto, Kakashi and he were the only people who knows about his future power and memories. He decided to tell Itachi soon, as his brother will probably be there. Sasu-chan. Naruto asked her boyfriend, who sighed dejectedly, a forlorn glimmer in his eyes. I guess that I will go back to sleeping on my own, huh? He replied forlornly. Well, nothing much. Don't worry. I will always prepare something for you whenever you want to. She asked, and she saw that his eyes were now shining with excitement and anticipation. That's done then. Seriously, these two are going to end up married. Tamari sighed. That Uchiha was a catch, and the blonde would definitely become a bombshell in a few years, but that doesn't mean. It seems that they have eyes for each other only. Okay, so, now where do we stay? I mean, we're finally released from our status as POW. Kenkiro's question was met by a grinning Suigetsu. Why don't you come living in the Uchiha compound? I'm sure that Sasuke won't mind one bit. The Hozoki shot his friend a meaningful look and he shrugged. He said, do as you like. So, our home is starting to fill out. Naruto asked Sasuke, who smirked. Oh, she was finally starting to grow up. Well, I guess that it's up to me to make it. Ya no. She said shyly as Sasuke chuckled at her. Naruto. Shikamaru's voice was heard. Yo, Shika, what's up with you? Naruto asked the lazy genius, who sighed. Troublesome missions. We have to repair the houses for the last week. You. He asked as their last conversation was cut short last time. Classified. She replied as Sasuke smirked. Ask your dad later, K. Troublesome blonde idiot. He replied, not noticing the now livid Uchiha as he hurt his girlfriend. Quicker than lightning, Shikamaru found himself lifted by the throat in a death grip. You will listen and listen carefully, lazy ass. Next time you hurt Naruto, I will become the second coming of my own fucking brother, got that? Sasuke replied as his starburst Mangekyo was ready to incinerate the Nara. As he nodded meekly, the Uchiha let him drop down. For a genius, you are quite dumb. Had you others trained like we did, you would be ready. Sasu-kun, you really can be overprotective. Naruto replied as Suigetsu smirked. Better him than us. I mean, I would have shot anyone who harms my precious persons. Suigetsu replied, Jugo would have obliterated him literally, or devoured him. Shikamaru's eyes widened with terror. Guys, you are terrifying. Shikamaru replied as they all laughed, save for Sasuke and Gaara. Ya bet. Naruto replied, grinning goofily. I mean, this is definitely Team Orphans. I'm sorry about that. Shikamaru replied. Don't worry about it. They all replied in unison. Yo, Shika-kun. Hinata's voice was heard as she and Shino joined. Guys, thanks for bringing Tsunade-sama back. The Hyuga bowed her head only for Naruto to stop her. It was our mission, Hina-chan. Naruto replied as her best friend nodded. Sasuke waved before he went away. Jugo was about to go after his friend only for Suigetsu to grab his wrist while shaking his head. Naruto understood the message. Sasuke needed some space currently. And the Uchiha needed the wisdom of a mentor. And that was exactly what he did. He wasn't a censor or anything, but he was able to know where to find the Hitaki. He looked at the Hokage tower with his Rinnegan, and found that Kakashi was already going out. He shunshined there and greeted his mentor. Yo Kakashi, I need you for a well, fatherly talk if you don't mind. Sasuke asked his mentor, who nodded. You see, I became now very afraid of what I was becoming. I almost killed Shikamaru's entire clan for hurting Naru-chan. I see. It's normal for an Uchiha to do that, especially one with your case. I read about your clan history, and also about the Obito you killed. I realized that all you have to do is just to warn everyone else, and then maybe they will know exactly why you would do that. Or, well, let's get to somewhere else. The Hitaki replied as the Uchiha heir nodded at him. They went not too far away from their team. Okay, the problem is that I need help. Like a good psychologist or something. The Uchiha replied seriously. Well, after this mission, we will see. I hope that Shikamaru will warn the others. Oh, and Asuma will definitely try to ask you about your brother's abilities. Kakashi replied as Sasuke sighed. I found out that he can kill anyone in this village without breaking a sweat. I am currently the only one who can stop him. And Naruto is not ready yet. She needs to invent a few jutsus of her own. Sasuke replied seriously as Kakashi's eye smile was everything he needed to know. I have to surpass myself. He replied only for Kakashi to grab his shoulders. Sasuke, apart from Fuinjutsu, Taijutsu and Shurikenjutsu, you are a solid S rank if not higher. Only your age is preventing you from progressing further. Give it a few years, okay. Kakashi told his student who sighed. They didn't have a few years. He needed to be able to use his Rinnegan, even the Tendo was enough. I can't use any Rinnegan jutsu, despite my knowledge of said jutsus. Only my own abilities, and that's what makes me angry at myself. Sasuke replied exasperated. I am way too weak. Oh come on, you killed the most dangerous man alive, you killed someone the Yondaime couldn't even kill, you stopped what, 3 Jinchurikis and killed them. You killed the most dangerous S-rank nuke nin. You killed a lot of people that others struggle to survive against. Kakashi scolded his student who then was not convinced. Look, we were dealt a short hand in life, and I know about your loss, but the world doesn't resolve around just training. Just liven up a bit, okay. The world resolve around Naruto Hime. Sasuke replied as Kakashi now laughed. She told me that the world resolve around you. He shook his head. Sasuke felt his eyes becoming wet as he had a face-splitting grin. His girlfriend does love him as much as he did it seems. Thank Kakashi. I'm going to join them. Sasuke replied as his sensei smirked behind his mask. What an interesting guy. Now then, Team Kyoryu, Team Sabaku. Team RO, who else? Cafe Sasuke joined his team and the Suna siblings and introduced themselves properly. They talked for an hour and a half about many subjects. One of which was how to kill better, much to Naruto's objections. However, the blonde turned out to be quite knowledgeable about the subject. And Suigetsu was the prodigy. Sasuke and Gaara have turned out to be easily the most gruesome. Death by sand, or hellfire, which was worse was up to debate. Okay, so, Sasu-chan, when will we, Naruto asked the Uchiha who smirked and put a sealing scroll on the table. It's yours. Open it. Sasuke replied as she opened and boy it was an amazing surprise. A pair of tiger claws, a chakra-conductive katana, a few chakra-conductive kunai. It was the least I could do. He said as she put the tiger claws on her forearms. Ino thought about it. He felt the 2 weapons on his neck, making him sweat a bit. Ino who? Naruto asked her boyfriend while scowling, her new weapons on his neck. Your friend and my comrade. Look, I have eyes only for you, remember? Sasuke replied as he sweated profusely now. What had he done? Good boyfriend. Naruto chirped as her poor boyfriend wiped out his sweat. You don't need a flat-chested screeching idiot. I know. He replied as he recomposed himself. Talk about a very jealous girlfriend alright. Look, how am I supposed to get it in that empty skull of yours that I love? Only you. Maybe sneak into Tsunade Kaken house later. Naruto suggested only for her boyfriend to smirk impishly. As he glanced at her, she understood that he will definitely go to visit her. And probably in each occasion they have. So, how strong are you guys? Gaara asked only for Suigetsu to reply. I am easily an A rank. Jugo is a very high B rank, and with a bit of training he will definitely reach it. Karen is a B rank. Naruto is a solid A rank and Sasuke is. I don't even know. He was able to kill a few S-ranked shinobis and with minimal effort. Suigetsu replied honestly as Sasuke glared at him. Still, I am way too weak. My taijutsu lacks speed and especially power, my shurikenjutsu lacks speed, and my fuinjutsu. It's abysmal to say the least. S rank my ass. Sasuke scoffed only for Naruto to sigh. Have some self-esteem and confidence, Sasu-kun. Really? I mean, you are definitely the strongest person I know. Naruto replied only for Sasuke to sigh forlornly. The people I want to surpass. I am nothing compared to them. Sasuke revealed and they all paled. What was he comparing himself to? My brother kicked my ass, and his shurikenjutsu is much better, his jutsu's speed is incomparable, and let's not talk about Madara Gigi. Sasuke replied as he then punched a tree in half, making Naruto nod in pride. She was easily able to do such a feat. I have to surpass them, and in less than 2 or 3 years. If I don't, then we are all doomed. I mean, I still require too many hand seals, and I'm not like Kakashi whose muscle memory and hand seals are so good, he can practically beat any samurai but Mifune himself with his jutsu speed. And Itachi is even faster. Damn. How am I supposed to achieve that? Sasuke-kun, please, stop. Naruto said as she hugged him, making him stop his rant and finally calm down a bit. Look, all the things you just said, is age depending, no. I know that you will reach that level, if Tsunade Kaken hears about my proposal. Naruto replied and he was shocked. What was she talking about? Look, we are a super unit, jobs that require speed and precision, we all can do it. Karen nay, tell me, how much chakra do we have? Each of us have at least Jonin level chakra. Why? She asked as Naruto smirked. We need to train to have a much better control. And Jugo ni needs to train his Senin Henka. The gentle giant nodded gratefully. I mean, whenever you are with us, you're very calm and docile. And with the mental stability drugs that Shizune Nichan suggested. Yeah, Tsunade Kaken is something else. She made them already. Naruto replied as Jugo's eyes widened and was really grateful to finally stop being a liability. Arigato. He said sincerely as Sasuke smirked. It's nothing, but I don't know if it's not the weirdest thing. I should not be the voice of reason, like, at all, no. Naruto asked as Sasuke smirked. Hey, you have tons of knowledge. And with the last few theory books, you might very well invent your own original jutsus. I did that actually for my Raiden and Kaden. I managed to combine a few in theory, but practice is hard. Sasuke replied as Suigetsu smirked. Karen nodded as Gaara and Kankuro were shocked a bit while Tamari raised an eyebrow. Okay, now you completely lost me. She replied and Naruto laughed at her. In short, we're a heavy assault team. But each of us is good at something. I'm good at being a terrain changer, and Sasuke-kun is excellent at total destruction. Naruto replied as Suigetsu smirked. Say, how much water do I need to make something? Like, a tailed beast level? Suigetsu asked and Naruto smirked evilly. So, Suigetsu was going to crush them too. What about the Bakusushoha? She asked and he sighed. I think that if we have a few days, we can go to the sea. She replied as Sasuke sighed. It would not be necessary. Say, can you apply a seal on a gourd? He asked and she nodded as he gave her a gourd, a chakra ink, and a brush. Make it almost like, well, as much as you want. He watched as Naruto slowly but surely made the sealing matrix, sweat pouring from her forehead, prompting Karen to wipe it out whenever she needed to and stopped her work. In the end, she sighed and put her gears away. There we go, Sasu-chan. Anything for you. Ya know, this one is special as it did not require control, like the sealing matrix is not really depending on my own chakra, but I made it so it can hold as much as it could. So, in other terms, be careful when activating this one. Like, don't go to somewhere shallow or you might have more sand than water. Naruto explained as Suigetsu was impressed, Jugo whistled, and Gaara and Kankuro were confused, Tamari felt her head spin and Karen was shocked beyond any word. What? Sasuke asked and she sighed. Look, just go somewhere deep, and say, Mugen Suka Fuin. She replied seriously and he nodded. He teleported there and she smirked mischievously. Oi, infinite water seal. Really? Suigetsu asked and she nodded before she snickered as Sasuke came back a few minutes later, angry at his girlfriend's prank. Suigetsu, here. Naruto, I will not speak to you again. Sasuke replied as she laughed nervously. I'm sorry, but I thought you would have figured out to stop the seal. Naruto asked as she chuckled nervously. Sasuke was silent. Guys, I'm going home. Do not follow me, or I will kill you. He warned seriously before he disappeared. Naruto wanted to go only for Karen to shake her head. He needs space. I never seen him like this. She replied as Suigetsu sighed. He's hurt. A lot. Suigetsu replied seriously. What were you thinking? I thought that it was a harmless prank. She asked and Jugo sighed. He was almost absorbed by that gourd or something. He replied as she now paled. Shit. It means that he would definitely kill me. Naruko paled only for Tamari to bump her gently. Oi, stop that. He doesn't strike me as the type. He had no venom on his tone. She replied as Gaara sighed. So I am. He replied and she paled. I used to be like that. I know. Thank God you came back. Kankuro replied, having a good little brother makes me feel that I would love to protect you from everyone, Gaara. Kankuro's reply made the red-haired shocked. Kankuro was serious. Sure, he enjoyed his and Temari's company, but this was big. Naruko remained totally silent. She was now terrified at the prospect. Would Sasuke break up with her? Uchiha Compound, Kaden, Goka Mekyaku. Kaden, Goenka. Kaden, Goka Meshitsu. Kaden, Bakufu Ranbo. Kaden, Goenka. Kaden, Karyu Enden. Kaden, Goryuka. Sasuke trained all of the B rank and above jutsu before he went into his first original Kaden ninjutsu, Kaden, Goryinka. As he spat multiple fireballs, gargantuan fireballs that split into huge dragon head-shaped fireballs, he smirked in satisfaction. That was his first one. Now, combining the second pair would be Kaden, Goka Meshitsu, Ranbo. He willed the pressurized stream of fire to dance in a spiral, and it was a half success. He tried again and again until Kaden, Goka Ranbo. He said as the giant fire stram danced wider and wider until it became a giant spinning pillar of fire. He smirked as he had one final jutsu, 2 jutsus. He looked up and noticed that it was almost dark. Should I? No. Not tonight. He replied to himself. Her not warning him about the danger of her jutsu was. Well, he almost died. With Naruko the blonde waited for her boyfriend to come to her. She was bored out of her mind and the evil Senju had made her help in the rebuilding of the village. Well, her buncheons at least. Now she waited and waited until she dozed off. The entire night went by, and yet, Sasuke was not there. She contemplated, maybe she should. No. He wasn't mistaken. He was so kind to her and yet she pranked him. She wouldn't blame him if he hated her forever. Sighing once again, she walked inside the house aimlessly. Sasuke promised her to visit and yet. Here he broke it. Whatever she did, it did hurt him tremendously. She prayed that he would not break up with her. She really started to feel the void without him. What have I done? She asked herself. 2 days later Sasuke was gone. He was only training, or even sending his cage buncheon to buy him supplies. Naruko stumbled upon his cage buncheon, who said, the boss need his food. Before he shunshined before she could even say anything. Despite everything, he was successful in making her life miserable. All she did was feeling more and more alone, and with Tsunade grounding her. She was feeling that her sanity was slipping. As she went back home to Shizune, she felt like horrible. She only blamed herself, not knowing that Sasuke was distancing himself a bit on purpose. She didn't even know what he was training in, but he managed to do it last day. He trained his Raiden Jutsu's concept and finally, he got his Tendo abilities back. Sure, he could only do one of 3 jutsus, but it was enough for now. Naruko-chan, are you alright? Shizune asked her little sister in all but blood. I am not. Sasu-chan didn't come to see me for 2 days now. I mean, he promised me that he will visit. He promised me. She replied as she finally broke down in tears. I mean, I am now afraid that he will break up with me. I don't want to be alone again. Naruko-chan, you have me, you have Tsunade-sama, you have your team, your senseis, your friends. Shizune reminded as Naruko gave her 2 blue, slitted pupils, puffy eyes. But Sasuke-kun is my most precious person. He's my Sasu-chan. And him going away just like that feels so wrong, ya know. She replied in a heartbroken tone. Shizune-san, Hokage-sama ordered for your presence. And Anbu arrived and announced. The dark-haired woman nodded. I'll be back, Naruko-chan, I promise. She replied as she shunshined, leaving the blonde wondering about her feeling only for Karen to arrive. Hey, Naruko-chan, have you seen Sasuke? Karen asked her and she gave her a hurt look. I see. Well, last 2 days he was training until he passed out. Jugo had to carry him to his and Suigetsu-kun's house and, at the break of dawn, Sasuke wakes up, eat a large breakfast and then goes to train non-stop again. Said what? Naruko asked in shock before she felt guilty. Let's go and find him. Naruto replied as Karen sighed. We combed the entire village and he was gone. Only in late evening does he come back. I don't even know where he trained, and believe me, I tried. Karen explained. It's like he's preparing something big, but I wonder what it is. Naruto-chan. He will probably break up with me. Naruto replied as Karen sighed. Look, last time he didn't look at you with hatred, did he? She shook her head. Only anger for something he had yet to explain. She reminded as the blonde sighed. Look, Tamari-san is a good company and all, and Gaara and his brother share another house, well, the left one to be precise, but he misses you. I mean, Sasuke never trained this hard. His encounter with Itachi left something on his mind, and only you can know what it is. Sasu-chan. Naruto said, worried sick about her most precious person. Speaking of which, Hokage office Sasuke smirked as he gave the 2 scrolls and letter to Tsunade. His brother have given him said letter and scrolls. She gave him a questioning look and he pointed at the letter. She read it hastily and sighed, Go one Gaki. Tell me your terms. Sasuke smirked at her. Team Kyoryu is to train in the best of their abilities. And Naruto should never be sent on a mission without me, clan head or not. My primary objective is to protect her. If anything happens to her or my team. He replied seriously as she sighed. Fine then. Anything else? She asked and he smirked in a predatorial manner. I need to learn the Edo Tensei. As she gave him a horrified way, he raised his hand. I need to do it one time, to revive the Hokages. I know exactly which mask in the Uzumaki temple, and now that Orochimaru is dead, no one else can do that. So, I need to learn that jutsu as much as she needs to learn the Hiraishin, and I mean the full version. Oh, and one more thing. He appeared beside her as he whispered in her ears, her eyes widened in utter shock. Are you serious about the last thing? She asked and he nodded seriously. So, it means that. Yeah, we have someone who can rival me with proper guidance and help. He replied seriously and she smirked evilly. Uchiha Sasuke, huh. Good to know that. Let's go, time for you to make amends with your girlfriend. She replied as he chuckled. Future wife. He replied wryly. She sighed at him. He noticed how she was looking a bit sad. Something happened to her. Yes, she was waiting for you 3 nights now. And she might think that you would break up with her. Tsunade's answer made Sasuke's eyes widen more than a pair of sake cups. Naruto thought that. Before he could say anything, Shizune got in, and immediately shot Sasuke an angry look. Sasuke-kun, what is your game? She asked the Uchiha who sighed. None. I just needed my space to think. And train. Now then, I will be there at your house. No really, I have one last thing to do, and then, Naruto better get ready for me coming back in her life, whether she likes it or not. Oh. Interesting. Sasuke then smirked as memories of his clone hit him. So now he can make 2 Tendo abilities. Now then, all he needed to do is the Chibaku Tensei and the Shingai Ryusei. Alas, trying either would definitely be a total destruction attack. What do you mean? Where did he go now? Shizune's question went unanswered as Sasuke literally disappeared into thin air, or rather, he managed to emulate the Kamui with his Rinnegan ability. Talk about broken abilities. Shizune, the black scroll need to be delivered to the morgue, the gray one is to remain in my desk. And the vial of blood stays with it, can you please deliver this one to the morgue? I'm joining you there. Tsunade ordered her helper before she made a cage bunshin to finish the paperwork. Naruto was definitely a genius to beat the accursed bane of all cages. Cemetery Sasuke sighed as he opened the first sake bottle and poured in over him mother's grave. Hey mom, long time no see. Finally, Itachi have avenged your deaths. He killed those responsible for that order. I hope you can forgive him. I hope you can wait for us a little while. I'm here, trying to atone for my sins, but I think that I must definitely marry her. I mean, you have already told her mother that you think that we'll be a cute couple. Thanks for everything, Ka-san. Sasuke then prayed for his mother to rest in the afterlife. He felt her hand on his head. Be a good man, Sasuke-chan. Don't join me too soon. And give me plenty of grandkids with Naruto-chan. Sasuke smiled as he felt his mother whisper in his ear. Dad, your sons have finally avenged all of the Uchiha clan deaths. Itachi is dying, but I think that it is ironic that I used to doing my best to be able to kill him, and now that I know the truth. I'm sorry for forgiving him. I'm sorry about not being a good son. Sasuke felt his tears flow down his cheeks, as he poured his heart and the sake bottle to his father's grave. Please rest, father, I will not be joining you soon, I promise. Itachi didn't want to get any treatment. I could never beat him. Sasuke, I'll always be very proud of you, my son. I know everything. Please live your life, do not waste it on something as petty as revenge. That part is over. Take care of yourself, your team, and especially, of your wife. Sasuke felt Fugaku's last words ring in his ears. He smiled genuinely as he prayed for the dead Uchihas to rest in peace on the afterlife. After washing his face, he had finally grinned. Now then, Naruto. You better get ready to pay the price. Sasuke's eyes turned into his Rinnegan and he disappeared in a vortex towards Naruto's location. Morgue Tsunade's eyes widened as she saw the 3 dead bodies of the elders, shredded, stabbed, burned, crushed, yet their heads were intact, save for the gaping hole of Danzo's right eye. She was shocked at the sight and wondered what could have done that. As Shizune and the medical team worked on the body, Karen walked in as Tsunade's eyes widened. Oi, Karen, what's the meaning of this? Why did you leave Naruto alone? Tsunade's question went answered by a smirk. Not alone. Not anymore. There's someone who loves her more than anything is already there. Karen smiled wryly. I'm not leaving my daughter alone. Shizune, report later. Tsunade said as she shunshined while Karen giggled. Sasuke was more than frustrated by the distance. Minutes earlier, yo, Naruto-chan. What's up? Sasuke asked his girlfriend who gave him a sad look. I understand, Sasu-chan. You're right about breaking up with me. Naruto replied in a controlled tone as his eyes widened a bit before they narrowed. I mean, I was mean to you, ya know. I'll be going if you don't mind. She said as she turned her back to him and tried to go away. Key word, tried. The Uchiha stretched his arm towards her and she was pulled in his chest, and he proceeded to wrap his arms around her. Sasu-chan. Naruto. He growled in a very angry tone, did you find another boyfriend? No, why would I? She asked before he flipped her, and smirked at her. Good. I don't want to kill anyone at the moment. He said before he crashed his lips on her own. Before long, she felt herself melt into said kiss. As soon as they broke apart, she glared at him. You promised me that you will come. You promised me. She replied angrily at first before her tone weakened. Am I even worth it? Hey, more than you think. I mean, I call my life without you, hell itself. He replied seriously and honestly as always. Why do you even love me? Do you hate me? She asked only for him to smirk impishly as he decided to do something about her. I loved, hated, despised, wanted, needed, liked and respected you. I don't even know what feelings are left that I never felt towards you that any man would for a woman. Now however, I feel only an undying devotion and an unconditional love towards you. He replied honestly as he locked their eyes together. She grinned at him. Hey, you never lie to me, Sasu-chan. So, want to talk about future, past, the other me? She asked and he flinched. She looked at him sadly. I don't know how it started, but here goes. It's a very long story. He replied as he went to tell her the entire story, from A to Z. Wow, I am so happy that you interfered. The other me is in the wrong shonen manga, or in the wrong world, or the author is too influenced by another manga to realize her potential. She replied while she laughed mirthfully. You noticed the author too. I'm proud of you. You're not a dobi anymore. Sasuke replied with a smirk. And you're still a tem at heart, but you are my tem. She replied while giggling. He paled as he realized what kind of giggling it was. He grunted in reply. Tanad walked right then as she saw the 2 preteens sitting on a chair each and talking about many things. One of them was Naruto scolding Sasuke for training like that, to the ground. Okay, I don't know what to say. Tanad asked in disbelief. How about we plan the entire crushing of Otogakure? I go in, kill everyone who deserves it, and then the others come, liberate the prisoners, and collect everything that deserves to be collected. Sasuke asked Tsunade who sighed. Seriously? You're going to be the death of me. She replied as Naruto sighed. Why you would get in first? Oh right. Hellfire, huh? She asked and he nodded. Good plan. Tomorrow we go in. At this point, Tsunade was talking gibberish. I think we broke her. She declared and he grunted. Ya no. I fucking missed you, Sasu-chan. Hey, she better decide to never separate us. The Uchiha said seriously. Tsunade's nod was more than enough for him. On missions at least. Oh, and Naruto, after this mission, we're going to fight each other. At this she gave him a confused look. Why? Time to see how good you became. She sighed in relief as the Uchiha, who is usually stoic as a stone, smiled in anticipation. Anyways, I need to get out. Tomorrow they will have a planning, and I don't know if Kakashi will be reliable enough to tell them how strong I am. Well, still too weak. He replied sadly as she now grabbed his hand tightly. Stop selling yourself short, Yano. She replied heatedly. Look, Sasuke-kun, seriously, you are probably the strongest human in this village. He sighed before he mouthed, Itachi, at her, and she sighed dejectedly. It seems that him losing to his brother was. She needed to do something, and now. She acted on instinct and gave him a searing, possessive kiss that almost melted him. You're still stuck with me forever. She chirped as he sighed but nodded nonetheless. Okay, I know. But I have to go home, there's something incredible that happened. And I don't know how I would feel about it. He replied sadly. His vengeance was over, Itachi killed Naruto's political opposition, and now all that remains is. Now then, how to cause the death, no, the genocide of all the daimyos and their courts. He thought evilly. The next day Kakashi smiled as he attended the meeting about crushing Otogakure. So far, Jugo and Suigetsu were more than helpful in putting the layout of each and every base of Orochimaru, and even some interesting intel. While Inoichi was insisting on interrogating them, Kakashi put his foot down as his team was extremely loyal to each other to betray them. And the fact that they hated Orochimaru with abandon was more than enough. Okay, so base 1 in Rice, the second in Kusa, the third in. The list went on as even Sasuke was helpful and so was Itachi. The Uchiha brothers made a list of each and every base and where it existed. At the end of the list, they were now semi-sure about which bases to leave to Team Kyoryu to literally annihilate, or rather, to Sasuke to burn with hellfire as he put 3 red lines under said base and wrote, "Too dangerous for us to even get in," and little did they know that he talked about the location of one, Uchiha, Shin. Shin was an experiment that went wrong in his book. And the fact that he had both Mokuten and Sharingan negated anyone's interference with him. There's also the base where Jugo was kept locked in, as he warned them about the Juinjutsu being experimented there and that it was a very urgent matter. Suigetsu and Jugo volunteered to crush that base with Sasuke, who did not even try to object to their mutual decision. As long as that fucker Shin was his. Water under the bridge. Okay, Team 1 is Hitaki Kakashi, Jiraiya and Kyoryu. Team 2 is Team RO. Team 3 are the Kazekage children. Team 4 is Kato Shizune, Nara Ensui, Inuzuka Sume and Aburame Shibi. Team 5 is Maida Gai, Mitarashi Anko, Yamanaka Santa and Shiranui Genma. Team 6 is Izumo, Katetsu, Yamashiro Aoba and Namiyashi Rado. Is that good enough? Shikaku asked Tsunade, who nodded hesitantly before the strategist started laying his strategy. And then, Kakashi spoke for his students. Sasuke just wanted to burn them, Jugo would be too dangerous once unleashed, and Suigetsu would definitely love this. Kakashi replied as he looked at Shikaku. They want to get in there first. Good to know. But what if anything bad happens? Shikaku asked Kakashi, who shrugged as Tsunade smirked. Sasuke is the one who killed Orochimaru. And judging him, he improved even further. She replied seriously as she then smirked, and Naruto is a one kunoichi army that can do a lot more damage that she usually shows. That changes a lot. Kakashi, how strong are they? Shikaku asked their sensei, who shrugged. Maybe Jonin level and high Jonin lever. He replied as the Nara muttered, troublesome, as the Hitaki shrugged, I don't know. Okay, so here's the plan then. Shikaku talked for an entire hour as he started to lay more and more details, of everyone's abilities, those not classified at least. At the end, Kakashi wrote everything that's related to his students and sighed. Getting them to cooperate will be hard. Thanks for listening. I hope you guys liked it. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like for more what ifs and support the author. See you guys in the next video.